Hi everybody, I'm so excited to be doing this. This is my first full conference, and I'm just really ecstatic to be here and be around so many makers. I want to talk about how inclusive design is universal design. So just a little bit about myself. My name's Laurel Cumming. I just graduated from the University of Virginia in December. I got my degree in electrical engineering, and now I owe someone a lot of money. While I was there, they told me that in order to get my degree, I had to write a really long paper. Most people call this a thesis. So my thesis, I decided to write about makerspaces and the representation of them. I wanted to write about how I wanted to see who was actually showing up to these spaces and whether they were sticking around, whether it was women or people of color, people with disabilities, what was going on. And while I was doing all this research and buried in papers for pretty much 6 months straight, I found a really interesting case study. That case studies became my life. There's a place in Washington, D.C. called Gallaudet University. It's a school for the deaf and hard of hearing. They are a university where they enable their students to, pursue normal educations while still embracing their deaf culture. And they needed to build a new dorm. So to do this, they hired deaf engineers and talked to deaf students and deaf architects and came up with Deaf Space. Deaf Space is a set of design guidelines that teaches or that shows you how to design a building specifically for the hard of hearing. And when they finally built their new dorm back in 2015, these are the sorts of features that they had. They had kitchens where the stoves were in the middle so someone could still look out while they're cooking. They had floors that had views between the two because you could sign from everywhere. And this was really interesting to me because of how they framed it. The way that they approached the problem wasn't that we need to make a building that is ADA compliant for the deaf and hard of hearing. We built a building for the deaf. And this was actually universal design. And so I had a little bit of the wind taken out of my wings, but universal design is just this idea that your product should be for everyone. It should be for anyone who's elderly or has a disability or standard users. And so there are actually 7 main tenets of it. You have equitable use, flexibility of use, simple and intuitive use, perceivable information, tolerance for error, low physical effort, and size and space for appropriate approach and use. Deaf Space used all of this, and despite designing a project that was specifically for one very small target demographic, 1% of the population, they made something for everyone by accident. And I think this is phenomenal. So they have space to sign because you have to walk side by side when you're signing with someone. They have sloping walkways because that's better so you don't have to think about stairs or look at stairs while you're trying to read and sign. But tell me that wouldn't be helpful to someone with a mobility limitation. Or that was not nice to you. And this isn't all just happy little accidents here. They actually, it would be diminishing to say, because they started this project in 2015 and didn't build the building until they started in 2005, didn't build it until 2015. So this is something I saw and I'm like, makers could be doing this. Why aren't we working at this? This is a phenomenon where we iterate and we approach problems in so many different directions that this is something we absolutely could be using. And so part of it is that you kind of have to figure out how you do want to approach the problem. How do you want to frame it? Who are you going to be building for? Most of us end up building for ourselves or for our full space. We try to make it as applicable as possible. But in order to figure out how we want to do this, we got to break our functional fixedness. How many people know what this is for? Okay, thank goodness. So for those who don't, you can use a Bic pen to rewind a cassette. It's a great use.
Wait, how many people know what the cassette is for?
And so this is a way of breaking functional fixedness. Usually a Bic pen is for writing, but you use it as a tool, and this is breaking your mental molds. By breaking these mental molds and these ideas that we have in our heads, we can come up with solutions that we would never be thinking of based on a different experience. And if we start doing design challenges and thinking about our projects in a not one-size-fits-all perspective, and we design specifically, we can do a lot more. And so I'd love to talk to you guys more about how do we get makers to embrace this mentality. Can we design a design guideline for designing? It's a lot of designs. So here's some possible options. We can have me knowers. Come talk to me afterwards. But the best solution for this is to go make something awesome. Just start making for small groups or just even yourself. And then you might find that you're using universal design.